Hello, friends. All right. Just getting Twitch up and running, everybody. And then we're going to be live streaming concurrently on Instagram. So we're going to get Insta going. All right, cool. The Insta stream is going live. Perfect. All right, we have both going, which is awesome. All right, we're going to give it a couple of minutes, everybody, because I said we'd start at 5:30, everyone, but we're going to get this one going. So we're just waiting for some peoples to pop in, and then we're going to get going. We got a really cool sponsored stream today, everybody. So should be good, everybody. So we'll get this show going at around 5:30, everybody. So should be pretty good. Oh, hello, friends. Hello. We're doing a sponsored stream today, everybody. So this is going to be really cool. So we'll get going. We'll start jumping into stuff exactly at 5:30, everybody. So this should be a pretty good time, everybody. So like I said, we're live streaming here concurrently on Twitch and also Instagram. I don't know, man. We'd have to figure out an idea, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. So we're just waiting for some other peeps to get it going. So it should be pretty good, everybody. Making sure our titles are looking good. Instagram chat's going well, and also Twitch chat is right here as well. Cool. Twitch chat's also looking good. So we are looking pretty good, everybody. So let's get this show going. Hello, friends. So, all right, it's 5:30, folks. I think we're going to get going. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer stream, everybody. We're doing some Alps in a modern keyboard today. So what we're going to be doing is I want to thank a few people who kind of helped make this board possible and just kind of make this project today a reality. So the first person I want to thank is the Bloody Eyes KB. He is the designer of this keyboard. This keyboard is called the ETAR87. It is an F-Rollless full-size keyboard that supports Cherry MX, Alps, and also Topere. So the Bloody Eyes sent this to me back in September to take a look at and to help promote the board. Now, part of why I was interested in this project was to get that has Alps support in its PCB. When I reached out to the Bloody Eyes, he said, "Yeah, we are going to be supporting Alps. The problem is we don't have a Alps plate. Alps take their own plate separate from Cherry MX." So I said, "Hey, I know someone who could design an Alps plate for you." So I reached out to my friend Carolus, who runs Carolingian.com. And I pitched the idea to Carolus of creating the plate file for this particular keyboard project. And Carolus said, yeah, he was absolutely down. So so I got the plate files for this board from the designer of the Bloody Eyes, and I forwarded those over to Carolus. And then Carolus did his plate magic on creating a plate. One thing about Carolus over at Carolingian.com, Carolus is kind of the go-to guy when it comes to modern Alps conversions. He's really good at converting modern-day keyboards to support Alps, whether it be helping develop PCBs or specifically his talent is developing the plate files. So Carolus did his magic and he created a plate file, and then I sent that plate file over to Tom at Hype Keyboards. Now this board's group buy ran from mid-September to the end of October. And thankfully we met MOQ and we also were able to produce some extras. So this board is going to, again, made it past the group buy phase, and now we're going through the beginning of manufacturing to deliver to customers sometime next year. And what's really cool about this is, again, Hype Keyboards, we wanted to do the Alps. I did a Cherry MX build stream at the start of the group buy to help promote this board and to get people on board with this project. And I was really thankful and grateful for the opportunity that the Bloody Eyes gave me, because there were some pretty big creators who took a look at this board. People like Alex Odos, people like Lightning, Zinwang, took a look at this board. So I was really fortunate to be one of the people who, again, looked at this board. Now, part of why I wanted to promote it was for Alps. And unfortunately, we didn't get to do the Alps build stream while the group buy was happening because my plate maker, Tom over at Hype Keyboards, he was waiting on aluminum stock to come in so we can make a plate this big. Most of what Tom really makes are going to be like TKL 60-65%. So he does make big plates like this, but that's not the bulk of his business. So when we were kind of going through the process, Tom just said it's going to be a while and we don't know when we're going to get the stock in to make this plate. So it was a while. It took about 2 months for Tom to kind of get these plates made. And we got these plates in early last week, which is really nice. So we finally have the plate, and I arranged with the Bloody Eyes on doing the stream today, which is really nice. So that's just kind of a little bit of the background and also the logos we have up here on screen. If you look at the very bottom, that's going to be Tom over at Hype Keyboards. That middle one, let's move on up. That middle one right there is going to be Careless's logo from Carolingian. And then if we kind of move further on up, that's the Bloody Eyes logo. So I just wanted to have their logos on my overlay this evening just to kind of show support for the people who really helped make this build possible, which is really nice. So this definitely is a sponsored stream we're doing today. And again, I really want to give a big thank you to the Bloody Eyes, the designer of this board, Careless, for designing the plate and also supplying the core part we're going to build this board with. And I'll go over that in a minute. And then also Tom at Hype Keyboards for cutting the plate, which is going to be really cool. So I really want to just kind of give a big thank you and shout out to the people who really helped make this project possible. Now another thing with Careless, who also made this board happen, is supplying the switches. Now we are going to be putting about $600 worth of switches into this keyboard. This keyboard MSRP'd for about $350. So we're putting pretty much double the value of switches into this particular keyboard. So this will be about a $1,000 keyboard by the time it's done. So since this was kind of a showcase of what this board can do, I wanted to go with kind of the most crazy yet crazy reasonable Alps switch that we could get. So we're going to be building this board with Brown Alps. Brown Alps are really interesting because they're a very expensive switch. They're going to run you about $4 to $5 a switch, and I only have one set of Brown Alps. I have 58 Brown Alps. So I reached out to Careless and I said, like, hey, like we're going to be doing this ETAR project. I know you designed the plate. Do you happen to have like some Brown Alps that you can lend me to kind of do this project? And Careless said, yeah, I have some that are stuck in a keyboard that needs to be torn apart and desoldered. Like if you desolder them and clean the switches up, like I'll send them over and you can use them for the build. And when you're done with them after testing, you can just send them back. So Careless sent over 2 batches of Brown Alps. So we're gonna be using my batch of Brown Alps on the main alpha cluster, and then we're gonna be using Careless's Brown Alps to finish the arrow cluster, the navigation cluster, and also the number pad. So we're going to have 87 Brown Alps in here, and that's going to be about $600 in switches. So this is going to be a very, very expensive build to really showcase what you can do. Now, to be fair, Brown Alps are not the most insane switch we could have put in this. We could have done neon green tactile Alps, but those are unobtainium unicorns, and I don't know anyone who had a set of those who were willing to lend them to me. So this was Brown Alps were kind of the next best thing, which is going to be really cool. So it's going to be really cool to kind of showcase what this build can do, and it'll be really interesting to see what this board sounds like with Alps. So to kind of showcase, first off, what we're going to do is I want to showcase also the PCB and also the daughter board. So let me remove the daughter board really quick and to kind of showcase our PCB. So here is our PCB. This is a prototype PCB from the Bloody Eyes. So this is looking really, really good. So there's a ton of different layout support, but we're pretty much going with the standard Win Keyless AT101 layout, which is going to be really cool. So we're using the Brown Alps, and then for keycaps, we're going to use one of my favorite retro Alp sets, which are going to be Focus Electronics FK2001 keycaps. So these are ABS keycaps that are double shot, and this is actually one of the cleaner sets that I have that's going to look really, really nice on this particular keyboard. So I cannot wait to utilize this set and put these keycaps on when we get to that point. And then since this is an Alp, we're also going to be using Alps plate mount stabilizers. So these are not DCS keycaps, so we're not using Cherry MX. We are going to be using Again, original Alps pattern stabilizer. So again, we'll get to the stabs and the keycaps later. So what we need to do first is we need to extract our plate assembly. So that's what we're going to do first. So we're going to stick our PCB to the side, and we're going to unscrew the actual case. And we'll kind of go through the case and kind of review. A lot of the stuff I'd already covered in my previous stream when we did the Cherry MX builds for this board. When we did the Cherry MX builds for this board at the start of the group buy, we did a long pole tactile in Gateron Grayish. And then we also did Cherry MX Nixies, which are really kind of cool. So that's what we did for the Cherry MX build. And again, today we're going full Alps and going full crazy on this particular keyboard. So it's going to be a really, really cool experience, kind of getting everything going. So we're really, really excited to do this board and to really do this project. So this is going to be a really, really nice board that we're going to do. So we're going to unscrew everything because we got to open up the case to get to the plate. So this is a nice opportunity to just kind of see how the board goes together. So we have 10 screws on the bottom that hold the top and the bottom case together. And we have these really beautiful bottom weights too, which are really kind of cool. So you insert them and screw them in from the inside of the case. So there's a dual weight system and they kind of connect, which is really nice. So this is a really well-built keyboard, and I'm so happy we met MLQ to be able to kind of go through with the group buy. So that was really nice. So everyone who supported this project, just a huge thank you. I'll be completely honest, when the group buy was kind of going on and getting extended, I wasn't the most optimistic, unfortunately, but when I was texting the Bloody Eyes, he always stayed optimistic, always stayed positive that we would meet our MOQ, and thankfully we did. So, which is really cool. And I'm getting, I have a personal unit that I paid for with my own money from this. So I'm actually getting I'm getting actually one of the prototypes. I'm not keeping this prototype because I actually don't want the Win keyless model. So I was talking with the Bloody Eyes, and the version I'm getting that I paid for in the group buy is going to be a Brown Next unit. So that doesn't have the Win keyless blockers, but it has the Next keyboard layout, which is really cool. And I'm actually getting the specific model that Alex Odos built on stream, which is going to be really cool. So that's the one So my purchase through the group buy is getting that specific one, which is going to be really awesome. So I'm really excited to get the board that Alex built for the promotion of this group buy, which is really awesome. So not that I don't love the silver. The silver is a really, really attractive color. It looks really good, especially in person. But yeah, we're really looking forward to getting this board going. So, all right. So let's put that down. Let's get these screws put off to the side, and then we'll show kind of our top case. And for today, we are doing top mount only. I had to send the bottom mount parts to another user who purchased one of the prototypes. So, which is really cool. We can kind of see the internal assembly. We can kind of see the areas for the bottom mount. I'll be completely honest, the most interesting mounting style for this particular keyboard is the bottom mount that the Bloody Eyes developed. That is by far one of the coolest mounting solutions that I've seen in a keyboard. It's really, really awesome. So that's really, really good. So we're really excited for this particular one. So, but we're going top mount. And again, I think top mount's more appropriate for Alps because top mount is one of kind of the OG mounting styles, which is really nice. So that's what we're going to do. So just kind of seeing other folks. But yeah, that's going to be pretty cool, everybody. So we're going to get this one going. So I'm going to put the bottom case to the side because we want to unscrew our top mount. We'll be able to get a look at this plate as well, which is really nice. Let me swap my screw tip just so we can get that top mount removed, and then we'll get going. Once we get these screws undone, we should be ready to go and start putting everything in. So let's remove our top mount screws, and we have, similar to the bottom, we have 10 screws holding in our top mount, which is really, really nice. So good times. So it is going good. Right, we have our screws holding everything in. So we're just removing these top mount screws. Again, top mount is just one of my personal favorite mounting style, and it's kind of the OG, especially since I've gotten into like retro boards. Top mount is just that OG mounting style. So it gives you the kind of that really stiff, firm typing feel. and it just kind of gives you that old school sound, which I am obviously a big fan of. So doing a lot of vintage stuff lately, a lot of vintage restorations, a lot of vintage builds. So top mount is my favorite. So there we go, and then there's our top case. So we're gonna put the case to the side for pretty much for a next good while, because I want to go over the plate, because that's really kind of what makes this build very different. So here is our particular plate. So one thing about this plate, it supports an AT101 layout. So again, you have your so you have your 7U bottom space row. So you have your 7U space bar, and of course you have your support for either, again, having Windows keys or going Win keyless. We're going Win keyless today. Also, we have our caps lock area. We have our, again, all of our stabilized keys. And then, of course, we also have our number pad area, which is really nice. So one thing about this plate, just the current Alps plate that we have as it is, it does not support DCS keycap. So if you are interested in building, when you get your ETAR and you want to do DCS, we will promote you. Either you will have to convert this Alps plate to support Cherry MX keycaps, or you'll probably have to reach out to Careless and see if he would be able to create a DCS one. Careless is pretty busy at the moment, but I think Careless would be definitely happy to do this. And one cool little touch that we put on the plate file, that the Bloody Eyes is really cool putting out, is we put Careless's logo. So again, the whole keyboard itself is designed by the Bloody Eyes, but this plate specifically was designed by Careless. So Careless, we wanted to put Careless's logo on the actual plate. So that's just kind of a nice touch to kind of give Careless credit for this particular plate, because this is all Careless right here. So this is really cool. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to put our stabilizer clips on here. Actually, I figured heck with it. We're just going to start soldering in switches, to be completely honest. I think that's what we're going to do first. So, all right. So let's get 4 corner switches first. I like doing 4 corners just to kind of solder some stuff in. Just makes life a little bit easier. I think we're going to get our stabilized keycaps too. So let's get, so we need 4 plus 8. So we need 12 switches. Actually, yeah, hold up. Actually, hold up. We're going to put some switches in just to kind of hold stuff in. All right, there's that. And then I want to go over to Careless's switches, and then put in our stabilized caps. Cool. So yeah, we're going to just start putting in switches, and then we'll kind of go from there. Cool. All right. So we have some switches in here, which is going to look really good. So let's get our PCB out, and we're going to actually fire up our soldering iron, because we're going to get ready to solder some switches in just to kind of hold everything into place. So let me get my PCB on here, and we're going to get going. I think we got them all on there. Perfect. That's going to be so sweet. Oh, we got to put it on our space bar, because yeah, we need a space bar. All right, that looks really cool. So that is awesome, everybody. So those brown Alps are looking sick. So cannot wait. All right, just want to check something really quick on this. So just want to check my Twitch chat. Cool. All right, we're looking good, everybody. So really, really good. So we got 5:30. Let me just get a drink really quick, and then we'll get going. Oh man, that hit the spot. All right. Let's get our little vent here, because of course we want that. So All right, now let's flip this puppy over. Let's make sure all those pins kind of stay in. All right. Awesome. Perfect. Let's get this going. Let's fire up our thing. Let's get our solder lead going. And we're going to get going, everybody. All right. Now, I'm going to start off with our corners. Cool. Let's move on over here. Alright, those corners are kind of held in now, which is nice. Cool. Awesome. Looking good, friends. That's all held in. Sweet, we got our plate held in, which is really nice. Let's get our space bar really quick. All right. That's looking good. Let's get our shift over here. Looking good. Let's do this one right here. So, looking really good. Looking really good. Awesome. Just doing one pin on each of these just to kind of hold them in. So we're looking pretty good, friends. Alright, so just want to flip these over really quick. Again, I only have done one pin on each of these, but those brown apps are just so friggin' good looking. Look at that. That is awesome. So that looks really good so far. So yeah, those are going to be so good. So that looks fantastic. So really, really good. So let's flip it over and let's solder in the rest of these switches. I mean the other pin for each of these switches, and we'll kind of go from there. So kind of work through it. So yeah, let's turn this vent on. Let's keep going, everybody. Let's keep it going. So it's just See if Instagram chat has anything they want to say. No, we're good. So still learning how to merge them, but yeah, we're going good, everybody. So. Cool. All right. Coming along, folks. Perfect. Got those. Let's go over here to our other corners and let's just get these ones going. Cool. Awesome. Those are good. Let's do our space bar. Looking good. Looking good. Let's move up to our backspace up here. Fantastic. All right. Look at that, friends. Look at that. So we have our first set of switches properly soldered in. So our plate and PCB is now kind of joined. So that's really nice. So, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to start inserting switches. So, start off with our main alpha cluster. And then we'll just kind of work our way through the board. Again, we're going standard caps lock on this one. Caps lock, we may have some issues on that one. It's okay. Kind of work our way around. But yeah, oh my gosh, these are like filling in. It's looking great. So these are very expensive switches. Each switch is about $5. So they are not cheap. So these are very, very boutique, very expensive switches. So we're going with a big ass enter, so we're not putting that slash key in. Cool, so we're getting it going. Let's pull the rest of these out because we're gonna use the rest of them. So looking really good, folks. So this is going really good. So we're just getting all these switches inserted. So we're going to have to make some adjustments for caps lock. So, and that is okay. Oh my god, that is awesome. Look at that. Okay, we're going to save that one for right now. We're going to put Careless's switches in this other portion of the keyboard. So, it's looking really good, folks. So, yeah, this is gonna be an expensive board, everybody, for sure. All right, let's fill in that numpad. Oh yeah, that looks amazing. All right, let's put these up here to the side. Put that to the side. So we're gonna have to. So there's our pretty much our assembly, which is looking fantastic. Oh my god, that came out sick. So we're gonna have to pull out one of these spacers for our caps lock. So, and then we'll have to do a little bit of filing. So it shouldn't be too bad. So. Let me there we go. Just get this, pull this out. There we go. All right, let's pull that out. Yeah, so we're just pulling out that spacer, and that's going to give us the clearance we need. So, got to do a little bit of modification and hand fitting, but these parts are meant to break away. So, that's fine. All right, almost there. All right, I think we're good. All right, now we're gonna get the file out, and we gotta file stuff down. So this is it's gonna take a little bit, but with that, that should enable our caps lock to fit. So we just gotta do nice and slow. Okay, we're gonna pull out our other file just to make life a little bit easier. A diss track for another person. Interesting. Oh, give me a second. My Twitch chat got all screwed up. Why is it on the middle of my... Okay. Transform. There we go. Hi, Frog Fan. I don't know, man. Like, what should you put in it? I don't know if there's any, like, beef or anything like that. Or, like, maybe something specific they've done or whatnot. I don't know. Do it. So, we got to file this part down. So, it's going to be nice and slow, so... Didn't anticipate doing this part, but it's okay. Gotta, like, do some filing, folks, so. Do it. That's my advice. Do it. So we're just filing this puppy down, so should be fine. Alright, so yeah. Let me see if I can like there we go. It's gonna make life like 1,000 times easier. Cool. Yeah, we're just filing down this caps lock right now. So we just had to take out a spacer for it. Yeah, so not the most glorious part. So this is a part I didn't expect to do, but it's fine. Cool, mate. I think we're okay with that side. Favorite hobbies? Keyboards are my hobby. I guess my primary hobby. I guess like other hobby, like following sports. Massive sports fan. So should be a good time. Like again, love following soccer, football, whatever the heck you want to call it. So yeah, like pretty much keyboards and following sports. Two of my great passions in my free time, and also video games. So. Don't have as much time to play video games as I would like, but hey, the time I do get to play video games, I do enjoy it, and it's always a fun time. So, yeah, we're just filing these down, folks, so it's going to take a second. Can't go as fast as I would want because I don't want to hit the PCB. Cool, we're getting there. Yeah, PC gamer, I mean, my rig is right there, so, yeah. So, yeah, definitely a PC gamer, so, it's, I mean, I have no hate against consoles, but, like, I don't know, for certain games and platforms, like, there's just no other way to do it, especially if you're doing, like, shooters, like, especially, like, doing, like, high-level competitive video games, like PC gaming is just kind of the way to go. Okay. Let's see if that will do it. Still don't have enough clearance. Okay. So, yeah. I don't know, man. I haven't gotten that far in my life yet. Like I said, I have the pigeon, and I like keeping it that way, folks. I don't know. It's fun. I don't know. The internet is the internet, folks. So you just kind of navigate it as it comes. I guess my famous last words. I haven't gotten that far in my life yet. Let's put it that way. I have not gotten that far in my life yet. Okay. Okay, we're getting there. Slowly but surely. No, I enjoy that. I am enjoying the non-married life, thank God. At least at this point in my life. I just take life one day at a time, and you just kind of navigate it as it goes. So. Okay. Let's see if I took off enough to get that clearance. So we want to get this caps lock in there. Almost there. We're like just barely there. So doing this kind of hand fitting part right here just to make sure we get it all going. Oops. Wait a minute. Alright, let's try this one now. Yeah, boy. Got it. Alright, we got our caps lock in, so just make sure that, let's grab my caps lock really quick. Just make sure that lines up, because I don't want to have to deal with weird stuff. And give me a second. I'm just trying to do a test fit really quick. Where the heck's that shit? Where are you? There we go. Just doing a little test fit just to make sure stuff looks good. Yeah, we're good. All right, cool. Awesome. Cool. All right, put those keycaps back, and there we go, folks. So we got our thing in there. There we go. There we go. There are all of our Brown Alps. That is, again, like I said, there's like $600 worth of switches in this stinking keyboard. So this is kind of crazy. Like the switches cost more than the actual keyboard itself. So that's a little crazy. But the whole point of doing this build this way was to make it just kind of absolutely insane. So we're just going to get some solder lead, and we got a lot of switches we got to do on this one. So we're going to do it, everybody. So let's get this one going. All right. All right, so let's get this soldering tip. Let's get our vent going. And we're going to start soldering in, everybody. Let's get it going. Start off with our number pad and we'll work our way down. Cool. Awesome. Looking good. All right, just getting those in. Cool. All right. Cool. Looking good right there. Oh God, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't know. That's a question I don't have the answers for. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. That's all I gotta say about that. Okay, awesome. Those are looking good. So kind of our perimeter of our numpad is good. Nice. That's cool. You never know, friends. You never know. It's always cool. Alright. Just making sure. Although one of my friends, they named their dog Deku from My Hero Academia, which I think is hilarious. So, yeah, we're just kind of doing our number pad first. And then we're just kind of working our way down. Just making sure everything is properly seated. Cool. Cool. Pushing on the numpad. Cool. Alright, almost done with the numpad, and then move on to kind of our next portion. Alright. Nice. Good times, everybody. Yeah, so we're just finishing up our number pad, and then we'll kind of move our way down. Cool. Awesome. Perfect. Almost done with our number pad. Cool. Awesome. So we got our number pad done. Now we're going to move over to our aero and navigation cluster. So let's get this one going. Looking good. So, good times, everybody. Good times. Cool. Let's get these properly seated. Cool. That one's looking good. Cool. Those are looking good. Awesome. Now let's do our second set of pins. Yeah, these are all firmly seated in there, which is looking nice. Let's flip it over and just kind of... So, yeah, that assembly. Brown Alps. Gorgeous. Look at them. Gorgeous. So, looking pretty good. Let's clean my soldering iron tip really quick. And yeah, we'll keep it going. Cool. Almost there. Awesome. Looking pretty good, everybody. Alright, let's keep it going. Almost done. Moving on to our aero cluster now. Perfect. Alright, now we can move on to our main alpha cluster. I think is pretty cool. So we're going to do our spacebar rail really quick, and do our perimeter, and then we'll start doing our numbers and our alphas. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Awesome. Perfect. Let's move on over here. Alright, cool. Just working our way through the soldering process, everybody. I'm just going to see if any questions from... Ooh, Kibay Tech's on here. Hi, Kibay. Hi, Chester. Chester popped in on the Instagram stream, which is really nice. What's up, Chester? So, yeah, we're doing the ETAR87 today. So, really cool project from the Bloody Eyes. Cool. Making our way, spacebar row is done. And then we're going to do our modifiers over here. Cool. Looking good. Cool. All right, let me just do these parts a bit. Cool. Let's clean off my soldering iron tip really quick. There we go. Let's get some more solder leads. We got a big portion of this board to do now. So, yeah, fun times, everybody. All right, now let's keep it going. So, we got all of our modifiers done. We got our number and our navigation cluster. So, we just need to do our numbers and our alphas. And then we'll be pretty much done soldering. And then we'll test switches, and we'll replace any switches that need to be replaced. So, if there's any faulty switch plates, we'll kind of go from there. So, it's doing our number row. So, there we go. Making sure we have our solder wire lead. Cool. And then we have one more right here. Cool. All right. So, let's clean our solder lead right there. So yeah, we got those pretty good. We're just going to make sure those are all properly seated. Cool. Alright, got those in. Let's get the rest of this number row soldered in. And then all we'll have left are our alphas. So, again, there is no F row or top row up here for this particular board. So, Looking really good, folks. Cool. Almost done with our number row. So that's really exciting. Cool. And then got like 3 more in the number row. Cool. Awesome. There we go. We got our number row done. So that's nice. There we go. That is fantastic. So we just have our alphas left. So that is looking really good, folks. Yeah, look at that, folks. Oh my gosh, that is super, super sick. So, looking good. Nice straight plate. So, alright, let's start doing our alphas. So, there we go. Ah, this is going to be great. Alright. Let's get it going. Start doing our alphas. Coming along. Cool. Looking good, friends. Coming through, everybody. So. Right. All right, almost there. Good times. Oh, nice. What's up, Blue Cubes? Yeah, Blue Cubes. I'll flip it over for you. Look at that. That's expensive. So, it's very, very insane. This build is crazy. So, yeah. We're just finishing soldering in the alphas. And it's going to be sick. So, I'm really, really happy for this one. So, this is a super sick build. So, we're just soldering in the alphas, and then we'll start testing switches. But yeah, this is a crazy build for sure. This is probably the craziest Alps build I've done to date. So, and probably one of the most expensive for sure. This probably ties my Geon F18X in terms of just, yeah, literally a $1,000 Alps board. Like this, my Geon F18X V2 is probably just as expensive. So yeah, these are two very. I'll pull that one out when we're closer to the end. Cool. All right. Literally going good, so. What are we doing on time? Oh, we're making great time today. Oh, yeah. This is, this one's pretty crazy. So, yeah, this one and my Blue Alps Geon F18X are probably my two most insane builds in terms of cost. So, yeah, this board, this is zero compromises, balls to the wall. Absolutely crazy. So. Cool. Just want to check it out. I'm just checking out all my solder joints, and yeah, those all look good. So we got 2 more rows here, right here. And then we should be done. We should be good to go. But yeah, that's just looking at those the Brown Alps just look so sick. So this is actually my first Brown Alps keyboard I'm building. So I've had my set. So this is a combination of Blue Cubes. I'll show you. So this is a combination of my Brown Alps and Careless's Brown Alps. So this assembly right here, like the main alpha and number assembly, are my Brown Alps. So this is my set of 58 Brown Alps I got from an IBM 5140. And then this set, so the navigation cluster, the arrows, and the numpad are Careless's Alps, which is really cool. So once this board is built at the end of the stream, I'm gonna keep this board together as it is for about 2 weeks, and use it as my daily driver to really kind of thoroughly test it, and also get a good feel for Brown Alps. And then in a few, I'd say the first week after Thanksgiving, I'll desolder this cluster. And I'm going to mail these and the rest of the other set of Brown Alps and the rest, and all the Brown Alps and all the stuff that Careless sent me to get that back to him. And then I'll put like a different switch for the navigation cluster, the arrows, and the numpad. Because again, what I'm mainly going to be typing on for this board is going to be the alphas and the numbers. But I'll put some other switch here. I'm thinking maybe a linear just to kind of spice it up. But yeah, this is going to be a really sick build, just kind of how it's built. So, but yeah, these are my Alps right here in the main alpha cluster. And then again, this section right here are going to be Careless's Alps. So all of these have gray switch plates. So my Alps have gray switch plates. Careless's Alps have gray switch plates. So I have not tested these yet. So we'll test them once we get the board, once we get everything soldered in. So we got 2 more rows, and then we'll get everything soldered in. So, but yeah, this is going to be super sick. So super, super sick build. Really happy for this one, so let's get this one going. So I'm just making sure there's no gaps in between my switches. Yes, this is a modern case. So this is going to be built in the ETAR87. This is a sponsored build. So this board was sent out to me from the designer of the Bloody ISKB, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Browns are really cool. What's up, What's up, folks? People are pops in. Yeah. So hello, friends. We're definitely doing Alps. So this is the ETAR87. It's an F rowless full size. So I'll just put the top case on. But yeah. Yeah, so it's a modern case. You know what's funny? Like, they say that, like, I'll be completely honest. Since I've gotten into, like, the vintage game of keyboards and, like, restoring vintage keyboards, I definitely get what y'all say about Alps sounding best in, like, very roomy, high internal volume vintage cases. I definitely get that. I'll be completely honest. Like, my gold badge Northgate Omnikey with late long white switch plate SKCM blues sounds infinitely better than, I'd say, all of my modern Alps keyboards. Now, I think to each their own. I think they're both very different. I really appreciate Alps and modern keyboards. Yes, sir. So, what's up? So, I think it's really... So, I think vintage Alps definitely sound superior. But that doesn't diminish, I think, the cool factor that Alps have in modern cases, which I think is really nice. So, like, I don't know, like, my Geon F1, I'll be completely honest, like, my Geon F1 8X V2 is built with blue, like, earlier blue Alps, and my gold badge Omnikey sounds infinitely better than my F1 8X, but it's also really cool to have blue Alps in the Geon F1 8X, to be completely honest. So, like, I don't hate Alps in modern cases. I have a ton of modern builds, and most of the client commissions I do are going to be putting Alps in modern keyboard cases. So I love both, but for different reasons, and I think they sound very different. And I'm not saying one sounds better than the other, but I definitely think they're different. They're both good for different reasons. So yeah, so let's get it going. All right, so we're just doing our last two rows of the alphas here, and then we're gonna get it going. So you know what's funny, Dirty Gingy? I have a QMK PCB for my Apple extended keyboard M0115. It's a later down the pipeline project that I'm going to be doing. Like, I have a restored Orange Alps one, and then I have in pieces a Salmon M0115, so I can have both models of that particular keyboard. I love my AEKs, and again, I'll eventually have a third one that I'll build that'll have, like, the fully customizable QMK PCB, and I'm really kind of... Oh, nice. Yeah, I wanted the two original ones, one with Orange Alps, one with Salmon Alps. And then, again, the one that has the QMK PCB, I don't know what switches I'll put them on. Most likely I'll probably put blues, because blues are my favorite. Like, blue Alps are hands down my favorite Alps, but this will be my first, when this board right here that we're working on right now is done, this will be my first proper experience with brown Alps. And I'm definitely, just for review purposes, I'm gonna daily drive the ETAR for probably the next 2 weeks to really get a feel for this board with Alps. Because I had this board built for about, I'd say about a month and a half with Cherry MX. I had it built with Nixies and GMK keycaps, and the board sounds fantastic. This board sounds fantastic, built with Cherry MX. You know what's funny? I love Pine White Alps, and I think they get you like 80 to 90% of the way of feel and sound to Blue Alps. But for not the Blue Alps Premium. So, like, I definitely love White Alps, and I have a metric crapload of them. And I have 3 vintage boards hanging in my wall over here. I have 2 Northgate Omnikeys in my FK2001, and I also have Pine Whites in my JO2 and also my TGR Tomo. So I have a lot of boards built with Pine Whites, and I love them. So, and then the little red boards right here, this little 60% right here that has the yellow keycaps, that has Bamboo White Alps, which is really cool. So,
Definitely have love for both types of white Alps. Now, the thing with white Alps,
the difference between pine whites and bamboo whites isn't that noticeable compared to like something like SKCM Black Pine or SKCM Black Bamboo Alps. Like those are way more noticeable in terms of the difference. But both versions of pine whites are fantastic. So, and also those pine whites or bamboo whites will put anything on the Cherry MX side to shame. Yeah, it's funny. I bought an Omnikey Plus a few weeks ago for like dirt cheap, and it was completely destroyed. It looked clean on the outside, but like there was like literal like dirt, mud, dead bugs. Everything was fried, and all the plastic was brittle. Like as I was removing keycaps, they were like disintegrating in my hands. So like that one was kind of a wash. Now I do have I got another Omnikey Plus. Holy crap! Why are there 62 people on my stream? Holy cow! Who really rated me? Holy cow! Hi friends. Hi. Oh my god! Why are there so many people here? I'm not expecting this. Hi. Oh my god! Oh my god! Hi friends. Hi. Hello friends. I was not expecting this. Welcome friends. Oh my gosh. Thank Alex Odos. I'm like, oh god, I'm like speechless right now. I'm like, again, I'm just a guy who likes doing this. Oh my gosh, I gotta turn this off. Okay, I'm gonna take a pause from streaming really quick while we have a bunch of people here. I want to take this. I said this at the beginning of my stream, and I just want to give a big thank you to 3 people in the keyboard hobby who made this possible. So the first person I want to thank is the Bloody Eyes. The Bloody Eyes is the actual designer of this particular keyboard, which is the ETAR87. So the Bloody Eyes, I reached out to him over the summer, just expressing how passionate I was about this project. And I said, like, hey, I know you're interested. The board can support Alps. And I'd love to, if you have a spare prototype, I'd love to take an opportunity to look at it. And Bloody Eyes said, yeah, let's do it. So he sent it over to me. And again, like, I'm a small creator. I'm a very small fish in a very big pond. But I really just want to express my gratitude and my thanks to the Bloody Eyes for sending this prototype out. I know he doesn't have a lot of these prototypes. So I just want to say thank you to the Bloody Eyes, like from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity. The next person I want to thank is going to be Carolus over at Carolingian.com. Within the world of Alps, Carolus is kind of the guru and the go-to guy when it comes to modern Alps conversions. Carolus is just kind of a whiz. His really kind of amazing talent is developing plates that will fit into modern keyboards. And also he's designed a bunch of PCBs in collaboration with other designers to make boards Alps compatibles. So a big thanks. So the second person I really want to thank is Carolus over at Carolingian. He actually designed this Alps plate file for the ETAR. So when I reached out to the Bloody Eyes and expressed my interest in Alps for the project, he essentially said, like, yeah, the PCB supports Alps, but I don't have an Alps plate file. So I said, hey, I know someone who could make an Alps plate file. Let me get you in contact with him. So I pitched the idea to Carolus, and he said, yeah, I'm down to do that. So I talked to the Bloody Eyes, and he sent me the Cherry MX plate file for this keyboard. So I passed that information along to Carolus, and Carolus did his Alps plate work magic and designed this AT101 pattern Alps plate for this particular keyboard. So this, what I mean by AT101, it supports a standard 7U spacebar bottom row, and you can either make it Windows key or Win keyless. Since we have the Win keyless version, we are going Win keyless. Another thing that you notice, this supports Alps plate mount stabilizers. Carolus, if there's demand for those of you who got an ETAR87 and want to build it with Alps and you want to use DCS keycaps, we could definitely modify the plate to support Cherry MX stabilizers so you can use DCS keycaps. But just for the purpose of this particular project and get it, and just kind of doing the proof of concept with Alps in this board, we just decided to go with Alps pattern stabilizers. Now, the third and final person I want to thank for this particular project is going to be Tom over at Hype Keyboards. If you don't know who Hype Keyboards is, they're based in Canada, and they are a fantastic keyboard plate maker. They you send them your file, or they have a ton of files on hands. And again, Tom is very knowledgeable on designing plates. And essentially, all the plates that I use that are custom made are made by Tom over at Hype Keyboards. So Tom graciously sent over this plate after I sent him the files to help make this project possible. So just a really, really big thank you to, again, the Bloody Eyes, the designer of the keyboard, Careless, who designed the plate for this particular keyboard, and also Tom over at Hype Keyboards. Big, big thank you to all three of them. And an additional thank you to Careless. The switches we're using in this particular keyboard are Alps SKCM Brown tactile switches. Now, Brown Alps are very expensive. They're about $4 to $5 a switch, depending on how creative you are when searching for them. So I only had about 58 Brown Alps, so I did not have enough Brown Alps to complete this particular board. So I reached out to Careless and I said, hey man, like, we're doing this project and I really want to build the ETAR with Brown Alps. And Careless said, I have 2 keyboards that have Brown Alps in them. You'll just have to desolder the switches and just clean up the pins so you can put them in the ETAR. And I said, yeah, I'll desolder them and we'll use them for the project. So if you look at all these switches, there are about $600 worth of switches in this particular keyboard. So the switches in this board cost more than the keyboard itself. This keyboard was about $350 in the group buy. So this is a really kind of crazy, no compromises Alps build to really showcase something insane you can do in the world of Alps in this really awesome and amazing keyboard. And just one last group of people I really want to thank are the people who joined the group buy. We made MOQ, and we also had the opportunity to purchase extras. So when we do get the boards in hand sometime next year, there will be a handful of extras we'll be able to sell as well. I really want to thank everyone who joined the group buy and supported this really awesome project. There were a couple times we had to extend the group buy. We were supposed to run from September 15th to October 15th, and we extended it by 2 weeks, and we ended on October 1st. And when I was talking to the Bloody Eyes, I just was being very pessimistic, and I really didn't think we'd meet MOQ. And by some miracle, the amazing people in the keyboard community came out and supported this project, because there have been some pretty high-profile group buys that have not met MOQ from some really big and reputable vendors and design studios recently. So I know the market's tough. People aren't spending as much, and people are kind of slowing down purchasing in the hobby. So to every single person who bought one of these keyboards, I just want to give a massive, massive thank you to all of you. Again, this project would not have gone forward if it weren't for every single person who purchased an ETAR. Whether you purchased it from ClickClack, Prototypist, or another one of our international vendors, I just really want to say thank you. So that's enough of me just kind of expressing my gratitude. Let's finish soldering and let's get this beauty together, which is going to be really cool. So for those of you who don't know, maybe those of you who came over from Alex's stream, again, I go by Sergeant Finley 96. So I got into Alps earlier this year. I've been in the hobby for about 2 years and got into Alps earlier this year. And in the words of, to quote Careless, I became an overnight expert in Alps. So the one thing I just like to say is if you see Alps stuff on like Reddit or Discord, it's most likely me. So if you see any Alps posts on like your favorite Discord servers or on like r/mechanical keyboards, it's probably my stuff. Again, we do builds here on Twitch, then we put the VODs on YouTube. Usually later the evening, later sometime after the stream, and then again I just post pictures of my keyboards on my Instagram page. So if you want to give anything a follow, just check it out, folks. Again, I do this because it's fun. I'm not doing this to get big. I do this because I just want to share information, and if I can help inspire someone within the mechanical keyboard hobby to either get into Alps or build their first mechanical keyboard, that is just amazing. So again, the community is amazing. And I just genuinely enjoy meeting all the amazing people around the world I've had the opportunity to do. So let's get this going. Let's get this vent going again. And let's get the last of these switches soldered in. That was a little bit of a detour. We had all these people in here. So again, everyone who's on here, thank you so much. Like, I'm kind of speechless. So also a huge thank you to Alex. You're awesome. So let's get this show going, folks. All right. So, nope. All right. Sorry, got a little piece of solder that went down in there. There we go. Let's get the last of this row going, folks. All right, we're gonna get it going. We got our last row that's gonna be ready to be soldered in. So, all right, we have our switches. We have one more row of our alpha cluster going, and then we're gonna get the show. We'll start installing stabilizers and testing switches. And I'll kind of explain to you why we test Alps switches. So, a little fun fact, just background about Alps. Alps were one of the direct competitors to Cherry back in the day. So in like the 1980s and especially the 1990s, Alps were kind of Cherry's biggest competitor in the market. Alps were produced by a company called Alps Electric based out of Japan, and they produced some really iconic keyboards and were part of some important partnerships. They had contracts with Apple, HP, Northgate Computer Systems, and a ton of other people they did OEM work for. So it's just really kind of impressive. And when you type on original Alps keyboards, they really are their own thing. And Alps are just really, really cool. I really have become enamored and fallen in love with Alps. Now, the one thing with Alps, they are a lot of work. If you're going to find an old Alps keyboard, it's most likely going to be in a really rough state, and you're going to have to do some type of restoration to the keyboard and the switches. Now, if you want to do what I'm doing and put your Alps switches in a modern keyboard, you're going to have to either buy Alps switches at a premium from someone who has harvested them or desoldered them, or you're going to have to get an old Apple keyboard, an old vintage Alps keyboard, and you're going to have to desolder those switches, clean them up, restore them, and then put them into a modern keyboard with a compatible PCB and compatible plate. So the one thing about Alps is they very much are their own thing. They take their own PCB, they take their own plate, they also take their own stabilizers and their own keycaps. So there's a lot of similarities, but there's also just a lot of differences. But Alps are kind of really beloved and prized for their clicky switches and their tactile switches. Many people consider like tactile Alps and especially clicky Alps to be some of the best versions of those switches ever made. Like Blue Alps, for example, are kind of the go-to premier clicky Alps switch, and many people consider that to be one of, or if not the most impressive clicky switch ever made. And it's also when you go to the tactile side of Alps, tactile Alps are absolutely phenomenal. And again, they're just different. Which is really cool. So I think it's really, really cool. Again, Alps really have a distinct feel and sound. So we're done soldering 4 right now. So there we go. We got all of our solder points, and let's flip this over. Also, again, Space Invaders too. Space Invaders are kind of another more niche vintage keyboard switch that are really, really good. But for me right now, I really enjoy the Alps side. So here we go, folks. So we're going wing keyless, so we don't have our Windows key, and also we're going for a big-ass enter with the keycaps we're using. So that one is really cool. So again, we're not putting our slash key in here. We're going to put that on our layers. So again, we can make space for our big-ass enter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of wrap up my solder wick, and we're going to plug in the JST, and then we're going to plug this into Vial and go to the keyboard tester. What we need to do is we need to test the switches. So some of these switches may have faulty switch plates. These are just very old switches. These switches are from 1986. So these are almost 40-year-old keyboard switches. And most often what fails on these switches or what's faulty are going to be the actual switch plates. And we may have to take apart a few switches and swap out switch plates. So that's what we're going to do. So we have our JST right there, and we have our daughter board. So I'm going to open up Vial on my desktop, and we're going to start testing all of these switches. So this is just kind of part of my methodology in terms of what we do. And again, these are just 40-year-old switches. We just want to make sure that we have everything properly tested. So here we go. All right. I'm just kind of moving my Vial window just so we can see everything a little bit clearer. There we go. Just making it a little bit smaller. Yeah, moment of truth time. Again, these Alps are in really good condition, so I'm not too worried about having faulty switches. But like I think Blue Keeps, you've kind of known is these have much older switch plates, and that usually causes some problems for me historically. All right, so we want to. Oh yeah, we got to unlock our PCB really quick. So give me a second, and then yeah. All right, I just got to do, I have to unlock the PCB in Vial, which is pretty interesting. So that's what we're going to do. So once I get that, then I can start testing the PCB. Okay, cool. So we're going to start testing. I'll start with the Aero Cluster. These are Careless's Alps. Aero Cluster looks good. Let's do our Navigation Cluster. All right, that's looking good. All right. Yeah, so yeah, blue Alps, orange Alps, greens, browns, and undampened creams are the oldest ones. That is correct, Blue Keeps. Thanks for that thing. Also, okay, we have my dots being weird. All right, numpad looks good so far. All right, my period right here is not responding as the way I would like it. Okay. I want to just check my key map really quick. Oh, that's not good. We want that. There we go. Let's go to our matrix tester. Let's make sure that's... Wait, give me a second. There we go. Okay. All right, looking good so far. Yeah, so we're looking good so far, so that's really good. So we're just kind of testing these switches. They are going to be probably, say, 4 or 5 switches we got to, yeah, that's being faulty, that we're going to test. So we're going to swap out some switch plates. So far, so good. This is actually a very good rate in which we're getting switches. So we're only probably, I think there's only like 3 or 4 switches we got to swap out. And that is pretty good in my opinion. That enter is being weird. Give me a second. Okay, that's interesting. Oh yeah, I have a... Yeah, dude, I want linear browns. Okay, let's make sure my enter works. Okay, give me a second, folks. All right, let me just do one thing really quick. I want to make sure something goes... Oh, okay, that's... Give me a second, folks. I'm just doing something in my matrix really quick. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, enter looks good. Let's go to our last one right here. All right, that's looking good. So there's, okay, so my plus and my equals is being a little bit weird. My bracket right here isn't working just right. So these are being a little bit slow to respond. And then my that's going to be my period on my numpad. Those are going to be really interesting. So let's see how we do it. All right. Cool. All right. So we're gonna try something before we desolder. So we'll kind of showcase one of the really cool features of Alps, which I really think is awesome. So unlike Cherry MX, when Cherry switches are soldered into the keyboard, you can't work on the switches. One thing about Alps is you can absolutely do that when they're soldered into the board. So you can actually open up these switches and actually work on them while they are open, which is really, really cool. So that's a really nifty and really kind of convenient feature with Alps that they included in these particular switches, which is really cool. So we're going to try a little trick that I do. So there are, if you look at this part, there's that little metal part that's inside the switch. We're just going to compress that. That's the switch plate. That's where I usually experience a high point of failure on these particular switches. And we also have this one. So we have 3 switches that are being a little bit faulty. So we're just going to see if we can just compress these switch plates and see if that gives us good registering when we actually press the keycap down. So, okay, pressing that one in, and then we'll press these ones. Now, if that doesn't work, then we're going to desolder these switches and we're going to put new switch plates in. So I have a bunch of spare switch plates for these particular switches, which is really nice. So, because we want to keep these original rare switch plates. All right, there's that one. Let's put this one in. So yeah, Brown Alps, really awesome switch. I am loving these switches so far. So they're very, very different. Hold up. Give me a second, folks. Oh no, my spring, where'd it go? There it is. So let's get it going, folks. So. All right, cool. Awesome. So let's do that. Let's plug our JST back in and let's see if we can do this. So this is going to be a really cool experience. And let's just kind of bring our thing back into frame. Let's unlock our PCB really quick. All right. All right, let's test these 3 switches and see if that worked. If not, we'll just get the desolder gun out and we'll desolder these switches. And we'll swap switch plates. Okay, cool. So, yeah, that one's not working, so that's a dead switch plate. So we'll swap that out. Okay, these 2 work. So we're going to desolder this one and swap out. These 2 are registering. The spring isn't correctly inserted. So we're going to unplug it and just reassemble that switch. So we're going to take it apart and reassemble it. And then that should be everything on this board, which is really cool. All right, let's get that. Yeah, that spring didn't go in correctly. So let's just get that one reassembled, and then we'll get the desolder gun out for that one switch that has a dead switch plate. So and that's actually one of Careless's switches, which is really interesting. Cool. All right, so we have that. So let's get rid of Vial right now. So that's what we're going to be doing, folks. So let's get it going. Awesome. So we're going to desolder this switch. So let's just kind of flip our thing over. Yeah, everything looks fine, to be completely honest. Okay, cool. All right, let's get that one going. So let's get our desolder gun out and we'll kind of go from there. So let me grab my Hakko FR301. Let's get this tool out and we'll get going. So let me just get it out. There we go. Let's get our other tools out just to kind of help with this particular tool. And we'll get going. All right, folks. So let's get this one plugged in and we'll get it going. So, all right, that's plugged in. Perfect. And then let's turn this on and let's make sure our temperature is dialed in. Heck yeah. So let's get that one going. So we'll get this portion of our numpad reinstalled. And again, we have a ton of extra switch plates for this particular board. So this is going to be really cool. So we're just getting this one desoldered, waiting for that light to kind of heat up, and then we'll get going. So here we go. Let's wait for that light. We're getting all heated up. Awesome. This tool is working fantastic. So love this tool. Again, if you get into solder boards, especially get into Alps, get one of these. It's not cheap, but there's no other tool I recommend for desoldering that makes your life like 1,000 times easier, especially working with Alps. Like, I can't imagine the work I do with Alps without this particular tool. So it is fantastic. So this is awesome. There we go, folks. Let's desolder this. Awesome. Got that desoldered, which is really cool. So let's put that to the side, and then let's pull out this particular switch. Cool. All right, we're going to swap switch plates, and while we're at it, we can actually showcase how this how Alps switches actually are put together, which is kind of cool. And Brown Alps are a little bit different, which is really cool. So we're literally just swapping out this switch plate right here. So this is the part when you press the keycap down. This is what actually sends the signal and makes contact. And that has the pins that stick through the PCB that you solder, which are really cool. So we're disassembling it. So we have our spring, We have our slider, and then we have our tactile leaf, which is pretty cool. So there's kind of 6 core components with these particular boards, and then we'll pull out our contact plate. There we go. So there we go, contact plate. So Alps, we have our bottom housing, we have our top housing, we have our switch plate right here. So that's our little switch plate, which is really cool. Of course, we have our spring. And in Brown Alps, they have this kind of old design tactile leaf. So this is what gives Brown Alps their distinct feel. They're a tactile switch, and they have a very rounded tactile bump, which is really cool. And then also we have our slider. So this is what you press up and down. That's what's going to hold our keycap. So this is where we get our name and also the color, which is really cool. So we're going to reassemble this switch, and then we'll solder in that switch plate and make sure that everything works. So this is a really cool little board. And these keycaps are about $4 to $5 a switch. So they are very, very expensive. So we have about $600 worth of switches in this particular keyboard. So this is not a cheap build, and this is definitely kind of the craziest version of Alps you could do on this board, minus going neon green Alps, which are like $20 to $30 a switch. So which is just as insane. So which is pretty cool. So let's solder this little switch in, and then we'll be good for all of our testing. Okay, we got that one in, and let's solder this one. And let's put a little bit more. There we go. Awesome. Awesome, friends. So that is really cool. So that is awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh gosh, SKCM striped ambers. If you want to send me a set, I'll do a board with them, and then I'll send them back to you. Those are even more expensive. I think I was talking in Careless's Discord. I think that there was a board a few years, I'd say about a year or two ago, that sold for about $8,000 that had those switches. Those are ridiculous. Those are even rarer and more expensive than neon green Alps, which most people consider kind of like the unicorn Alps switch. So striped ambers, good luck, man. I have the clicky ambers. Like I have a metric truckload of those. I mean, where are they? Like I have like 180 of clicky ambers. So those are really expensive. Those are about the same price as Brown Alps. I still don't know what board I want to put them in though. So, all right, folks, here we go. So let's get this plugged in. And let's test that last numpad switch, and I think we should be good. So hopefully that works. And then we'll kind of go from there. So let's get it going. Let's get that. Keep the desolder gun out just in case. And yeah, let's get it going. Let's go to our matrix tester. Let's unlock this. All right. All right, looking pretty good. So we're getting it going. Awesome. Perfect. Huh. Let's give me a second. Let me try one thing really quick. Oh. Want to try something. Okay, let's try that. Give me a second. I want to try one more thing. All right. Okay. So that's being weird. So that's one switch isn't working for some reason. I know these switches are good and pretty solid. That's really weird. I'm going to try one other. I'm going to try VIA really quick. Sometimes VIA gives me a little bit more success. Okay, we're good. Yeah, I mean, this is also a prototype PCB. So, all right. VIA, everything looks good. We're just doing one last test while we're at it. All right, we're just doing one last test of everything. Everything is looking good. so far. So we're just testing, and I think we should be good. Awesome, looking good. Perfect, perfect. And then once we get these in, we should be good to start doing our stabilizers. Awesome, awesome. And success. Everything is good. All right. We are money, everybody. So I'm going to unplug everything. I'm going to put the solder gun away because we're pretty much done with this tool. So let me get that put away. We'll turn off our soldering iron, and then we're going to start doing stabilizers. So give me a second, folks. I just want to put this tool away. And there we go. Cool. All right. Just want to get some water really quick, and then we're going to get going. All right. So let's turn off our soldering iron. We are done with our solder work now for this particular project. So that is a really kind of good sigh of relief. So I'm going to take off my JST connector, and we're going to start doing Alps pattern stabilizers. So you guys can kind of see how Alps stabilizers work. They're kind of their own thing. They're very different, which is pretty cool. So there we go, everybody. So here we are. So this is looking really good. So we're going to get out our stabilized keycap. So we're using keycaps from a Focus Electronics FK2001 keyboard. I want to get out my stabilized keycaps just to help do it. So we're going to have 8 stabilized keycaps. So we're having a standard full complement of stabilizers on this particular keyboard. So, and this is a really nice set of keycaps that I got off an original keyboard, which is really nice. So, and then we just need our big ass enter. There we go. And that's our big ass enter. So that's going to look super, super sick once we get that on there. So we'll put the rest of these keycaps away, which is going to be really good. So this is going to be a really, really cool board, and I'm really excited for this. So there we go. Put the rest of these keycaps away, and we'll start doing our stabilizers. And I like to, oh yeah, FK2001 Blue Keybs, you know me. FK2001's like my go-to Alps set. I know Careless is like all IBM 5140, and I know some people who have strong opinions within our little Alps community hate on FK2001 stuff. I'm like, nah, dude, they're awesome. I love FK2001s. They're great. So, I mean, there's a reason I have a fully restored one that I got from you, sir. So, all right, let's get all these stabilizer parts out. I just kind of dump them out, and then I figure out what I got to get. So we're going to need a spacebar wire for sure. Awesome. So we got our spacebar wire, and we're going to need 6 2U wires. So we got 1, 2, and then we're going, okay, we need a few more. 1 more 2U, and then we're going to need a 275 for our right shift. Here's our right shift one. Perfect. And then our last 2U. Perfect. So we're done with wires. Let's get our bottom clip. So we're going to go gray for these. Yeah, we're going gray. So we'll do gray for these for our standard. So we need a bunch of these, everybody. So we're just getting all of our parts out, and then we're just going to kind of get going. And then as I put these together, those of you who may be a little unfamiliar with Alps will kind of get to see how these boards and their kind of keycaps go together and their stabilizers work. So it's a very simple system, and it works. The one thing about Alps stabilizers is like Cherry MX stabilizers, you want to lube these. And I'll kind of go through my lubing process. We're going to use a 205G0 on these. And you're going to really kind of see the, again, just kind of the same reasons why we lube stuff with 205G0. So, again, let me grab a keyboard, and I'll kind of talk about that process. Let me grab a couple keyboards. So we'll take a detour. We got time, folks. We're taking our time on this board. So I'll grab another restored keyboard, and I'll use them as examples. So here are 2 keyboards I have. So I have an Apple extended keyboard M0115, and I have a Northgate OmniKey Ultra. Both of these keyboards, as you can see, are extremely yellowed. Now the AEK the keycaps are not yellowed because they were made out of PBT. The plastic that yellows is going to be ABS plastic. Something about the makeup of ABS from back in the day yellows over the decades. Now, here's my stance on retrobrighting. As you can see, both these keyboards are fully restored. I have not retrobrighted them. Here's the thing with retrobrighting. It is not permanent. And this yellowing took decades to occur. If you retrobright something, yes, you will get the original nice color back, but they are going to re-yellow within, I'd say, 1 to 2 years. So a process that took decades is going to happen again within 1 to 2 years. So my honest recommendation is if you want to get into a vintage keyboard that you want to restore for like your personal collection, here's one of my vintage keyboards that's really, really beautiful. This is my Apple standard keyboard. As you can see, it's not yellowed. It's in its original beige color. Look for really clean examples when you're looking in like thrift stores, e-waste places, or on eBay or just somewhere online. These are going to fetch a heftier premium because, again, they have better eye appeal. But functionally, this board is the same as both of these two yellowed keyboards. It just doesn't have the nice eye appeal. I personally really like yellowing within vintage keyboards. I think it's part of the patina. Now, what I do when I restore keyboards is I take the keyboards apart and I thoroughly scrub the plastic in hot soapy water. I scrub the keycaps, I scrub the case. That gets all the dirt, the grime, and all the other 40 years of crap off the keyboard. So that's just kind of my stance is I don't personally retrobright. Now I do client restorations for people. And if I was doing a client restoration, the client said, I want retrobrighting and I know the risks of retrobrighting, like I will do it for them. But for my personal collection, I do not retrobright stuff. So I'm going to put these off to the side so we can get back to the ETAR. So I have a pretty cool vintage collection. But that's just kind of my stance on it. Now, Blue Keeps, who's also in my chat, has a pretty interesting method that he does. But yeah, so that's just the thing with retrobrighting. Just kind of be careful. And another thing too with retrobrighting, the more times that you do it. So say you retrobright something, and then maybe in a year or two after it's re-yellowed, you retrobright it again. Every time you retrobright, you make the plastic chemical composition a little more brittle. Where eventually the plastic will be so brittle, it's just going to break up. It's just going to start cracking and just basically be destroyed. So with retrobrighting, you really don't want to do it a lot, which is the thing. So I personally don't do it. So if you don't like yellowed plastic, if there's a specific vintage keyboard or keycap set that you want, really be patient and look carefully and find one that is non-yellowed. So that's the thing that's just interesting. So my personal recommendation is do not retrobright, or you could take Blue Keeps' suggestion and do what he calls lazy brighting. But yeah, the vintage scene too, it's like, I think it's to each their own. I really encourage people, get a vintage keyboard. Now there are certain vintage keyboards that fetch hefty amounts of money. But like, for example, like an FK2001 or like Northgate Omnikeys, you can get them for like $200 or $100. So like some vintage boards, or like an Apple extended keyboards, like you can get those things for like less than $50. So that's the one thing that's really kind of nice with regards to vintage keyboards. You can get into them for not a lot of money. And they're fun projects to learn about Alps and learn about vintage keyboards and vintage tech. And restoring them is quite a lot of fun. They're a lot of work, but they're a lot of fun. So that's just kind of my stance on stuff. I'm just making sure I have all my parts that I need. I think those are all of our parts. And we're going to get going. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty good. So, yeah, and also with retrobrighting, if you're going to use hydrogen peroxide, yeah, please be in a well-ventilated space. You don't want to be breathing that stuff in. Take care of your lungs, people. That's what I just kind of recommend. So it's a good time, everybody. But, yeah, there's definitely a lot of really good ways to get into vintage keyboards. And there's a ton of really great communities, whether it be on Reddit or Discord or like on Geekhack, of people who have been in the vintage scene a heck of a lot longer than me and who are extremely knowledgeable. Like Blue Keeps, who's in my chat, like he's one of the people who is kind of my go-to when I have questions about vintage boards or I'm trying to track down a board or what board has what kind of switches. So there's a lot of really amazing people within the vintage keyboard and vintage computing community who can give you a ton of great information and kind of help you with any questions that you have. So that's the one thing that's really nice. The people I've met in the vintage spaces have been just nothing but awesome. So There we go. So let's put our stabilizer parts away. We're done with those, and let's start doing it. Yeah. So, you know, to each their own. Like, for example, Blue Cubes does not like yellowed stuff. So I've gotten some projects from him that were ridiculously yellowed, and I made good use of them. So, all right. So we're inserting our stabilizer parts. So, and then we're going to get going. So we're going to put these posts in to stabilize our spacebar, which is going to be really cool. All right, so yeah, there we go. We got those. Let's kind of sort our parts really quick, and then we'll kind of get going. So, all right, cool. There we go. Let's get our clips inserted into these particular keyboard, into the plate. Now, one thing about this, just to kind of use Cherry MX terminology, Alps, like traditional Alps pattern stabilizers, are going to be plate mount. So again, we're not going to be doing any type of PCB or PCB clip-in or things like that. With Alps, which is pretty interesting. So that's just kind of the interesting thing that we're going to be doing. So we're going to be installing these little clips right here. They're really tiny, but they're going to go into the plate, and that's what's actually going to hold the stabilizer wire down, which is going to be really good. And that's what's going to connect with. So we're going to start inserting these little gray clips into our plate assembly. So they just kind of clip in, and they just kind of rest in there like that. So we're going to put these in for all 8 of our stabilized keycaps. So that's what we're doing. We're just kind of sliding these little puppies in, which is really cool. So we're going. So just getting all these parts in, and then it's going to be pretty good. So, you know, we have our space bar we're doing, which is pretty cool. Now we'll move on to our backspace. We're going to stick these in, which is going to be pretty cool. Awesome, friends. But yeah, that's really, really cool. So we're getting these ones going. So we're doing our stabilizers, and then once we have our stabilized keycaps on, then we'll put this assembly into the actual keyboard, and then we'll put on the rest of the keycaps. So I normally do my stabilizers while the PCB assembly is outside of the case. It just makes life a little bit easier when I install these. And as you guys can see, Alps stabilizers can be really, really fun sometimes. So, like that one right there. Cool. All right, let's get that one in, and then let's get this one in. So this is for our big ass enter, which is really, really cool. So this is a really fun project, everybody. Like, I'm really enjoying this project. And again, this is a board I have been wanting to build Alps for as soon as I discovered it, which is really cool. So I think we're going to go with the inner one on this one. Yeah, I think we're going to go with the outer. So let's do it. Let's get these clips in. I'm just going to do a test fit on these really quick. Cool, got that one in. Let's get these ones in. Cool. Got those. I just want to put this one in, see if it fits. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Got that one in. Moving on to our number pad, which is really cool. And then once these are on, we'll start lubing. So, which is going to be really cool. So we're going to start lubing stuff. Oh, that one. Oh, that one's broken. It's okay. We have a ton of extra Alps parts, so we are chilling on Alps components. Cool. And then we'll put these ones. I just want to see how these are oriented. Yeah, so we'll stick these on the outside. So let's kind of flip this around, and we'll kind of go from there. So pretty good. All right. So we're almost done doing all of our clips, and then we'll install the portions that go on the keycaps, because there's part of these stabilizers that actually go on the keycaps, which is pretty cool. So cool. Let me grab my stabilizer baggie again. Where are you at? There you go. Let's get. Cool. There we go. So we're going pretty good, folks. So there we are. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, folks. Again, whether it be about Alps or just life in general, it's always good. So there we go. So we got all of our portions right there. So we're going to put that to the side, and we're going to start installing our clips on our keycaps. So we'll start off with our spacebar, and we'll get these clips installed, which will be really good. Looking good. So let's get our big ass enter, which is my favorite keycap. It has the greatest name in the history of keycaps. So, oh yeah, I got that White Alps board. I'm gonna mail it off to the client tomorrow. So what happened with that White Alps board? It has an attached cable. So where the attached cable connected to the PCB, essentially the solder point came off the PCB, so it was kind of wobbling, and it took the contact pads off, and that was kind of beyond my solder ability. So I took it to a local electronic shop who has a much better soldering setup than I do, and they were able to fix the board. So thankfully we got that board working. It was just, again, faulty. Again, the connector just became faulty, unfortunately. So, but we got it fixed, and it's working. So we'll get that mailed to the client tomorrow, which is going to be super nice. So I'm really excited to get that board shipped out, which will be nice. So again, they're local here in California, but they're kind of like really, really far from me. So I'm just mailing it to them. So it just makes both of our lives a little bit easier. So we're just getting these little clips on here. So on the bottom of the keycaps, we put these little clips right here, and those are going to connect to our stabilizer wires, which are just going to be really cool. So Alps are very much their own thing in terms of how their stabilizers work, but I think they're pretty simple and very easy to work with. So I really enjoy working with them. Cool. Cool. And I need to get one more stabilizer part. Cool. Let's get it for our main shifter right here. Perfect. That one's not good. Give me a second. I can get my... See if I can get one that's a little more firm. There we go. All right, cool. Let's put these in, and we'll get going. So we have all of our parts ready, and we're going to start lubing. So that's going to be the kind of the exciting part as we do this. So there we go. Let's put that to the side. Let's get our wires over here, and we'll kind of just get going. All right, so let's put our keycaps over here. We'll start off with our left shift and get one of our wires. And for this, we're using 205G0. That's kind of my preferred lube for both Cherry MX stabs and also Alps stabilizers. So this is going to be cool. Okay, so gray plates are going to be earlier Alps switches. White plates are going to be later Alps switches. So just kind of, those are really just kind of going to determine the age. That can kind of help you. Gray Alps switches are, I mean, the switch plates are pretty good. My issue with gray switch plates is I have a ridiculously high failure rate on them, especially with green Alps. So I really don't like working with like gray switch plate switches, just because I've built so friggin' many Alps boards and I've restored thousands of Alps switches at this point. I've gone through a higher volume than the average person would, who's just maybe tearing apart or harvesting one Alps keyboard. So like I've gone through a very, very high volume of Alps switches, just because of the amount of builds that I do for my personal collection and also for client builds. So I've probably experienced a higher rate of failure on certain types of Alps switches because I'm going through a metric crapload of them. So what's funny, Blue Keeps, one of my sets of Amber Alps have black switch plates, which I know those are very early. So yeah, we're just adding, so essentially for Alps stabilizers, we're adding 205G0 wherever the wire is making contact. So we're lubing it where it's going to clip into the plate. So we have lubricant right there, which is pretty good. And then also we are going to be lubing the top portion of the wire. It's going to clip into the bottom of the keycap. And then we're going to be doing that. So there we go.
Cool. Awesome.
And then the next part we're going to be doing, but also too, Gorkas, with regards to lube, you also want to be very careful lubing Alps switches. If you want to lube Alps switches, again, I do recommend it, but you have to be very careful. Don't use a wet lube like 205G0 or stuff you use for Chamex, because you're probably going to gunk up and ruin the switch. And also for lubing, you only lube the colored slider, so the part that you're actually pressing up and down. And you want to use a dry lube, like something like R059 is usually what Careless recommends, and you apply a very thin coat of that and you let that thoroughly dry. And then you reassemble the slider back into the switch. So on lubing Alps switches, you have to be very careful because you can lube them. It's just the lube you're going to use is going to be very different from what we use on the Cherry MX side. Again, you want to use a dry lubricant. And there's also different methods, like things like the wax spoil and things like that, to kind of smooth up Alps switches, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Alps they're a lot of work, and they're very much a labor of love. Oh, you can use 205. Oh, just very, very minimal. Dirty Genji, you're probably a better luber than me. I just had a negative experience with 205G0 on them. So in just my experience, based on my negative experience, that's why I don't recommend it. But heck, if you've had positive experience, wax spoiling's pretty dope. So I just kind of recommend, the wax spoiling. Those sound great. Awesome. We're going to move on to our spacebar now. We're going to do the hardest key right now, so it's going to be interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways you kind of approach working with Alps switches to make them do. Yeah. So, yeah, again, Careless, I'm so happy you're popping in. Careless, big thank you to you, my man. You helped make this build possible. You designed the plate, and you, again, loaned me these brown Alps. Again, without your help, this would not be possible, my man. So, again, Careless, thank you so freaking much for everything that you did to help make this build possible. Again, Careless, you are an amazing person, and I'm very happy to have you within our small Alps community and just keyboard community in general. You're an amazing person. We need more people like you. So, for those of you who don't know who Careless is, he runs a website called Carolinkian.com, and Careless is the go-to guy, an expert. I consider the expert when it comes to modern Alps conversions, and what that means is you're putting Alps switches in a modern mechanical keyboard. Careless is just a genius when it comes to designing the Alps pattern plates and working with a wide variety of vintage keycap sets to make plates compatible and keycap sets compatible with pretty much any kind of board you want. Careless has a website. They sell a ton of different plates. They have PS plate files. He has his own PCBs that he also, again, has on hand, and a ton of other Alps parts to make if you want to put Alps on a modern keyboard to make that possible. So, Careless is definitely kind of my go-to for when I need vintage plate files and just anything for a modern kind of Alps conversion. So Careless is kind of the go-to guy. So just kind of giving Careless a little bit of a shout out for sure, because again, his stuff is really cool. He has his own YouTube channel. Check out his website. He also has a great Discord server with a really great community of people who are very, very knowledgeable and help me figure out stuff all the time. So it's a good time, everybody. So now we're going to lube these little bars right here for help stabilizing. So that's pretty cool. So it's going to be a good time, everybody. This is a really, really cool build that we're doing. So we're just lubing our stabilizers right now, and then once our stabs are lubed, we'll put the keycaps on, then we'll put this into the case, and then we'll do our final assembly. So this is really, really cool. So, all right. So, got it. Awesome. Let's get our wire lubed up, and then we're giving dude, Careless, you're the best, dude. You really are a man of the people, dude. I genuinely mean that. So, we definitely need more people like you who within the hobby. So, all the keyboard meetups I go to, I definitely give you a shout out for people who want to get into Alps. So it's a genuine good time. So there we go. And then there we go. So let's figure that out. Let's get that wire in there. Perfect. Let's also add a little bit of lube where we're going to be contacting. Cool. All right. Let's get it going. All right, let's clip this wire in. Alps space bars are kind of the ones that are kind of a pain in the butt, and there we go. That wasn't that bad. That was pretty painless. All right. Got our space bar. Let's do our big ass enter next. That's another key that's usually kind of a pain in the butt for me. And then the rest of the keycaps are pretty straightforward. So that's what we're going to do. So, but yeah, that's really good. So, and again, also, if you look at my overlay, I have Careless's logo. Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Honestly, I've had some pretty good success with 205G0 lubing Alps stabilizers. So that's kind of my go-to, and I've kind of figured out just kind of my methodology on lubing Alps stabilizers, which is pretty cool. So these are really, I think, I prefer Alps stabilizers. I know some people who I've done client builds really like DCS because they like the Cherry Mech stab compatibility, but like DCS keycaps look really cool. But honestly, like I think I kind of agree, like they look great, but they don't sound the best. Oh yeah, dude, big ass enders are the best. Like it's, I don't know where the name came from because I know that's like the official name for it, at least in the community. It's the greatest name for a keycap ever. So, and it just looks amazing. It's a vibe. I mean, look at this thing. It's gigantic and it's amazing. Like I love B80s. Big ass enders are awesome, and that's like the official name of it. So that's like fantastic. So yeah, these brown Alps are going to be really cool because like I've had my set of 58 brown Alps. But Careless really made this possible by sending enough brown Alps to fully complete this board. Because this board takes 87 switches. So that's why it's called the ETAR87. So there we go. Let's get this one clipped in. All right, got one side clipped in. Give me a second. Oh, come on, clip in. Oh, man. Give me a second, everybody. Technological difficulties. There we go. There we go. Awesome. Got that one. So, yeah, so you know what's funny? This is, there is one that has a next layout. You know what's funny? I'm talking to the Bloody Eyes. It'd be really cool if we made a PCB and a plate that supported, like, native next keycaps. Because the next version of this it has a standard 7U bottom row, and then it has the blocker that was originally on the next keyboards, which are pretty good. Oh yeah, dude, Careless, like I told you, I'll send these. I want to have this board just for kind of like testing and review, and I'd say like probably the Monday after Thanksgiving and Black Friday, like I'll send them to you. So yeah, but that's what's gonna be really cool. So we're definitely gonna, again, probably like the first week of December, after Thanksgiving, we'll get these sent back to you. So, and also your 5140 keycaps that you sent out as well. Those are all cleaned up and restored as well as the stabilizer parts. So, oh, perfect. We're on a perfect timeline for those. So we are pretty good. So Careless, just as I was sharing earlier, the alpha cluster right here are my brown Alps. And then your brown Alps are doing the navigation cluster, the arrow keys, and then the number pad. So when I take your Alps out, I'll probably put like another type of tactile over here because mainly for my testing purposes and then get a feel for brown Alps. The brown Alps are going to go over here. That's the part I'm going to basically be using on a daily. And these are just kind of secondary keys realistically in my use case. So it's more important, again, I wanted to put my Alps here. And then again, we'll desolder those. And again, I also kept both batches of your brown Alps very separate. So this is one of those batches, and the other batch is already bagged up, so which is pretty cool. Oh, nice. Ooh, I might put blue Alps. I have actually a decent supply of blue Alps. I might put some blue Alps in them. That'd be sick, actually. Careless, stop. You just gave me a really dumb idea, and I love it. So I'm totally gonna steal that. Yeah, I might put blue Alps in the numpad just to have fun with it. All right. Let's get our backspace in here, and then we'll get it going. So, all right, there we go. Put that one in. Let's lube up our top part of our wires, and then we'll get it going. So there we go. Let's get our backspace, and then we'll get our clips under here lubed up, and then we're gonna get this one attached. So, like I said, I like doing these stabilizers outside of the case because it just makes, I have a little more room to work with and I'm not restricted by the bezels of the board. So once we get the stabilizers done and mounted, then we'll put this in the case and once the board is in the case, we'll put the rest of the keycaps on the board once it's in the case. So that's kind of my methodology and madness for stabs. And there we go. Awesome. Really good. Let's do our Again, right shift, and we'll get it going. So we're almost there, folks. We have our kind of almost done with our main 5 stabilizers and our alpha cluster. So that's pretty good. All right, Careless, thanks for popping in. Again, just huge thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. And again, Careless too, the plate that just before you go, man, this is the plate that's going to, again, people will get for the sport. So it's going to have your signature right here. I mean, it's going to be covered once it's in the board, but when they're building it and when they take it apart, again, your signature is going to be right there. So that's going to be really nice. So this will be the plate that people who want Alps in the sport are going to be getting. So that's super sick. So I'm really happy we're able to give you some credit and have your signature on the particular plate. So awesome. So let's get it going. All right, so we're going to get those in. Awesome. There we go. So take care, Careless. Thank you very much, my man. All right, so we're going to keep it going, folks. Again, those of you who are here, again, thank you, folks. Again, I hope I sparked some interest in Alps. Yeah, if you want Alps, if you want to get into Alps, I definitely recommend joining Careless's Discord server. Just go on to the carolingian.com website, and towards the bottom, they'll have a link to join his Discord. If you're curious about Alps, whether it be a vintage restoration or putting Alps on a modern keyboard, the people there are extremely knowledgeable and can answer any and all questions, including myself. And just the community that Careless has is really amazing. So definitely, if you're interested in Alps, you're welcome to reach out to me or join Careless's Discord, or heck, even go to Careless's website and shoot him an email. That's going to be kind of your go-to place for modern Alps conversions. They're kind of the go-to people on converting modern boards. So there we go. All right. Awesome. Those sound fantastic. All right, let's move on to our numpad, and then we'll be good. So we'll do our 0, and then we'll move on to our plus and our enter. And then we will be ready to kind of install everything in the board, which will be really nice. So, yeah, this board is going to be amazing. All right, cool. Awesome. Cool. All right. Clipping them in. But, yeah, it's a slow and steady process with Alps. Another thing with Alps. Yeah, I mean, Careless. I mean, not to I just think Careless is I think there are people within this hobby that definitely deserve the recognition. Oh yeah, dude, I'll definitely do some Space Invaders reveals for the seals. But I think there are some people in this hobby who are in it for the right reasons, and who genuinely love the community and do this because they're genuinely passionate about it. And Careless is one of those people. I know he logged off and went to bed, but I think that's really amazing. And Careless isn't the only one. There's a ton of really great people within the hobby who do some really, really great work. Oh, nice. So that's the thing that's really, really cool. So I think it's just really cool. So it's funny. I'll show you my GNF 18X. I have it, but it's built with Blue Alps, which is amazing. So yeah, Careless, definitely a good guy. And if you're interested in a modern Alps conversion, he is the go-to guy for it. And again, I do custom Alps commissions for people as well. I do client commissions, and Careless actually sent a client my way. So I've been doing. So I told Careless when I started doing client commissions and showing him my work. I told Careless if his calendar ever gets too full for doing custom commissions, if he wants to send someone my way, I'd be happy to do a build for those people. And so last week, Careless connected me with an international client who was looking for a modern Alps build, and we're going to be probably building that client's build this weekend, which will be really nice. So we're going to we have all the parts ordered, so those will be arriving this week, and we'll be putting that client build together. So we will be building that board on stream. And we'll kind of go through the process of what it goes into a client commission. But essentially what I do for client commission builds, I just essentially charge the cost of parts plus a commission fee. And the commission fee really determines what is going to be involved in terms of what switches you want, what type of restoration we have to do to the switches, and just kind of sourcing of parts. So it can kind of vary, but I try to keep my prices reasonable because I really just want to make Alps as accessible as possible. The one thing with Alps, I will tell people, they're not cheap. like the cheap Alps switches are going to run you about $85 to $1 a switch, and then they'll go up as $4 to $5 a switch. And then for like the super uber rare switches, you're looking $20+ a switch. So Alps are definitely not cheap. Like it's definitely going to be more of a cost compared to like doing something like Cherry MX. But I definitely think everyone should have an Alps build in their collection. I think they're amazing and they're awesome. You don't have to be crazy like me and have like 20+ Alps builds in your collection. I have a metric crap load of them. But yeah, everyone should have one at least. So I'm just one of those crazy people in this hobby. So, but yeah, if you definitely are interested in like client commissions, that's something that maybe piques you. Like, because I'll tell you, Alps are a labor of love and they're a lot of work. I think that's what's so intimidating for people. I'm getting there. Yeah, so it's funny too, Blue Keeps mentioned 101. Like one of the Northgate OmniKeys I'm trying to get next is the Northgate OmniKey 101. So, and I know like it's not that expensive. It's just the ones on eBay I've been seeing just are either too expensive or they're in really crap condition. So I'm just being patient and waiting for a clean one, so I can pick that up and then do my restoration process for it. So yeah, there we go. Awesome. Cool. All right, let's get this plus on here. And then we have one more TCAP. Ah, dang it. Cool. Let's wipe this off really quick. Yeah, don't remind me. I hate that one. I'm so mad at that guy. He has a 101p and I want it. But he's asking like $500 for it. And I'm very upset about that. I'm still salty about that because I do want a 101p and that's probably going to be my most expensive OmniKey I have to pick up. So, yeah, don't remind me about that guy. I'm very upset about that. Because I want that board. Like, very, very bad. So, yeah, don't remind me. Oh, I know. But I'll tell you, so Dirty Gingy, so what I'm doing is I want to collect the entire Northgate OmniKey line. I've pretty much based on my research, I've compiled 10 models. I have 5 of the 10 models. So the 101, yeah, the 101P, oh yeah, when I get the 101P, it's definitely going to get either Blue Alps or Pine Whites, as I know that's one of the later OmniKeys that they made. And it's the most expensive, ironically, which sucks. So, because I think like a standard 101 OmniKey would be the most expensive, but it's not. It's the 101P. So that'll probably be the last OmniKey I pick up. So, but yeah, I think my next two, there's 2 102s I need to pick up. Those are really cheap, so I'll probably pick those up next month. And then I'll need a 101, a 101i, and then the 101p. I have a 101n we're going to be restoring probably in the next 2 weeks. And then I have the OmniKey Plus. So, and then of my OmniKeys that are fully restored, I have the OmniKey Gold Badge, the OmniKey Ultra, and the OmniKey Ultra T. So, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so, yeah, the Northgate OmniKeys have become my favorite vintage board. I love them, and that's why I want to collect them all. So, and I'm only interested in the ones that were Northgate branded. I know Northgate also did like OEM stuff, and I'm not interested in any of those right now. So I just want to primarily get the ones that are branded by Northgate as Northgate OmniKey keyboards. So, because I know there are a handful of rare ones too that are like they branded for other brands. So, yeah, I do want a DC 1304, sorry 3014, because that's a really sick board. I have a guy who wants to sell me one, and he said he's not in a rush to sell it. So he said whenever I'm ready, I'll end up buying it from him. So he's just an older guy who's been in the vintage game for a very long time. So he said he'll hold on to it and he said when I'm ready, whenever that is, I'll be able to buy it off him, which is super sick. So I do have a 3014 waiting for me. It's just when do I want to pull the trigger, because it's not going to be cheap. So, which is fine by me. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm kind of happy that this guy has one that's also new old stock, by the way. He has a new old stock 3014 with Blue Alps. that just sits in a box in his house, and he said he doesn't use it, and he's kind of out of the game. But I have his cell and everything, so like we keep in contact from time to time. And he's told me like whenever I'm ready, I can buy that 3014 off him, which is super sick. So, and he has a bunch of other stuff I eventually want to buy off him. So, yeah. Yeah, so I'm really that is a board I will eventually be getting. I'll probably get it sometime in the spring. It's just going to be it's just expensive because it's new old stock, which is really interesting. So it's not yellowed. It's new old stock. It's basically brand new. So it's going to be a holy grail board that I pick up off of him, but it's probably not going to be until spring because that's going to be a sick board. So here we go, folks. We have all of our stabilizers complete. So that is awesome. So they sound fantastic. No rattle. Awesome. That is great. So let's get our case and let's remove oh yeah, dude, I can't wait to get it. Yeah, he has a few like Next keyboards. He has a DC 2014 as well. That's really clean that he said like he has a big collection of stuff, and I've identified from his collection what I want. And he said he'll basically just hold it for me until I'm ready to buy it, which is really sick. So yeah, I got that. I'll definitely let y'all know when I get all this stuff from that guy. It's gonna be a minute though, because I'm probably gonna buy the stuff I want from him very slowly. So you know what's funny? He has one of the necks he has the undampened creams, which I'm gonna be buying from him, which is super sick. So yeah, no, he has some really cool stuff, and I can't wait to get it. So because most of his stuff is new old stock. So for my sanity, I'm not sharing who it is. But yeah, this guy is really cool. So. All right. There we go. All right, friends. Let's get this going. There we go. Cool. All right. Getting the top mount installed. And then we'll get our daughter board attached. We'll screw a daughter board in. Then we'll get it going. Yo, the bloody eyes. What's up, dog? I'm glad you're in here, dude. We've been on here for a good while. I've been here for like 2.5 hours. So we're doing final assembly and then putting keycaps on. Bloody eyes. Look at that. Just want to show the bloody eyes. Oh, yeah, dude. A black FK 2000 will be so sick, but look at that, the bloody eyes. That is so bad. BA. So bloody eyes, this is $600 worth of switches in this board. $600. So it's super, super sick. So we're going to put the daughter board in. So we're going to mount our daughter. Where did I put the daughter board? There it is. So, and then we'll get kind of everything going. So let's grab my screws for the daughter board. Give me a second. Where are you? So, yeah, the bloody eyes. This is sick, dude. This is a super, just amazing board. Like, you knocked it out of the park with this one. I'm glad we met MOQ on this one, so. Cool. So, we're just screwing in it. Nice, Dirty Gingy. I know you're, like, Brown Alps are sick. And again, this is going to be, like, my first, like, proper experience with Brown Alps, which is going to be really cool. So, this is going to be really, really nice once we get it in there. So, yeah, I'm glad the bloody eyes. I'm glad you're able to pop in, my man. So, over here on California time. So, Careless popped in, which is really nice. So, we got to show Careless what we were doing, talk about the board. So, that is really awesome. So, let's just connect our daughter board really quick. So, let's connect our JST. Come on. All right, let's carefully put that in. Awesome. Oh my god, look at that. That's sick. All right, let's screw the bottom case in, then we'll start putting the rest of the keycaps on. So there we go, folks. This is super, super awesome. So put all this crap all to the side. All right, let's get our next one. Don't say that, Dirty Gingy. I'm like, no, we have to, like, I'm very jealous you have a fat, like, stockpile of Brown Alps. That's me with Amber Alps. I'm sitting on a very fat stockpile of Amber Alps. So I still have no idea what I'm going to do with them. I haven't figured out the proper build I want to put them in. So I'm just literally sitting on almost 200. Oh, dude, that sucks. Ow, that's brutal. Yeah, I did. I assembled my Studio Class 0413 last night on stream, and yeah, definitely when you build custom topre, it's a very involved process. And also, I always will tell people too, like people think like Cherry MX within this hobby is like expensive. I'm like, no, dude. When you get into like high end custom topre and like Alps, like high end Alps, like that is very much a rich man's game. So, yeah, yeah. Wait, you put Topra in an NCR80? God, that's like really weird. I like it. I can respect that. That's pretty dope. So that's really cool, actually. Oh yeah, dude. MX is like whatever. Like I like Cherry MX, but like I'm kind of over it to be completely honest. Like I'm not offloading my. You have 5 NCR80s. Holy cow, that's amazing. I love it. That's like me with GeonWorks frogs. I have like 5 GeonWorks frogs. Yeah. Yeah, MX is fine. I don't hate MX, but like since I discovered like gotten deep into Alps and like proper high-end topre, it's kind of hard to go back. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's tough when you get, especially when you get into the big boy like real force boards. All right, here we go, folks. It's tough. All right, here we go, friends. Let's pull this off. So here we go. Here's our ETAR87. The bloody eyes. This is sick. So we have Brown Alps. That is amazing, everybody. Look at that. That's super sick. So we're going to start putting on our keycaps, which is really cool. We got it. So this has been really cool. Again, also shout out to my folks over who are watching over on Instagram who have been popping in. So let's put on the rest of our keycaps, everybody, and we'll see this board come together. All right. And then we'll do a bit of a sound test. And this is pretty great. This is amazing. I'm very, very stoked for this project, which is super, super cool. So let's put our caps lock on. I'm going to do our big keycaps first. And then, yeah, we're going to get it going. So let's put our gray modifier keycaps on. We'll get it going. Look at that. Let's put our tab. Let's get our escape key. Awesome. But yeah, this looks awesome. Like I am very, very happy. Oh dude, my Alps collection is probably gonna outnumber my Cherry MX collection very soon. So that's just kind of a reality at this point. So yeah, this is looking fantastic. I love this. So let's start putting keycaps on. There we go. So this is looking fantastic. Putting them on, everybody. So, all right. So we can really kind of see, we're going with beige because with vintage keycap sets, it's beige or like light beige, dark beige. That's pretty much our options. So, which I am okay with because beige is the best colorway. You can argue with me on that, but beige is the best. I am all about the beige. So, there we go. We're just getting them going. All right. There we go. Don't want to put these in the wrong spot, so I'm just making sure everything's going right. We got our T cluster right there. Nice. So good. Like, this is such a good set. There we go. We got our end key. No F row on this one, so we can put our F keys to the side. We're not using F keys. Press F to pay respects, everybody. So I have Gateron Melodics in my RamaWorks Thermal, and that board, they sound amazing. Like Melodics are probably the only clicky Cherry MX switch that doesn't sound like garbage. So that's a really good switch. I think Gateron knocked it out of the park. I haven't tried the Gateron lanes yet, which I would love to try those switches. So not using scroll lock. All right, looking good. Right. Yep, there we go. Let's put our 1 right there. Okay, numpad's filling in, which is really nice. W. Cool, not using our F row. Awesome. So this is pretty good. Nice. Yeah, again, they're just, I think it's just I think they're just a good like switch type and like switch design that I have always really enjoyed. So, all right. So we're just getting it going. Yeah, plateless is fine. I don't hate plateless, to be completely honest. Like, it's fine. I'm just filling in my number pad. Insert is going to go right here. We're not using our F row. So we're almost there, folks. So I'm not using tilde. Number 3. No F row. There's our 1. Hold up. Let's see if we can wipe that. Nice. So that. Oh my god, this looks so good. Our num lock. Okay, done with that. Not using that. Put delete. Oh man, I cannot wait to hear how this sounds. This is gonna be so sick. So we're almost there, folks. Oh, that's not pretty. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna go grab something. The 7 is bugging me. Give me a second. All right, I grabbed a magic eraser because this number 7 has a streak on it. I don't like that. Yeah, it's as good as we're gonna get it. All right, give me a second. Let me grab a towel so I just dry it off. So, nice. All right, that 7 looks good. Getting there, folks. Getting there. So, not using our F row. KL brackets. Almost there, friends. All right, let me just put the rest of these keycaps back, but that's looking really friggin' solid. Oh my god, that's awesome. Holy cow. That's good looking. That is a good looking keyboard, everybody. Look at that. Holy cow. This looks so sick, everybody. Look at that. Yeah, that is sick, everybody. That is amazing. So that is just awesome. So these have brown Alps. This is a, to quote Blue Keeps, about a $1,000 ETAR build. So this is a very, very expensive board. Yeah. Oh, I love the colored modifiers. That's a nice little touch on this board, so, and these keycaps. But let me see how he's feeling. Yeah, that sounds really nice. All right, let's see. I'm going to move my microphone down, and we're going to do a sound test. All right, so I just have my microphone right there. So kind of bear with me. We're going to do a little bit of a sound test, and let's kind of see how they feel, everybody. All right, actually, I'm going to fire up monkey type. So let's get monkey type going, and we'll get that one going. So let's do a little bit of monkey type. So let's plug this beauty in. Let's find my USB port. There it is. Awesome. All right, let's go into monkey type. We're gonna do a monkey type. Also, I'm a terribly slow typist, everybody. So just kind of bear with my very terrible typing speed. All right, cool. That is pretty good. Oh my gosh, that's fun. That is really, really fun. Yeah, I mean, it's not. There's not a lot of internal volume in this case, so you're not going to have that nice resonant sound and like something like a Northgate Omni-Key or something like that. But I think it's really cool. Cool. I want to do one last test here, everybody. I want to get my switch tester open. Let's open this all up. And we're just going to kind of go through. So we're done with my sound test. That's fine. All right, cool. So I want to go through and we're just going to do we're going to do 2 tests in VIA and also Vial, which is really nice. So escape 1. Okay, we're just going through testing everything. It's looking good so far. Cool. All right, I want to go back into Vial really quick. Everything looks good in VIA. Let's go back into Vial, and we're just going to do one last bit of testing. But yeah, it's sounding really, really good. So this is a really nice board, very pleasant to work with, which I think is really good. So let's go to my matrix tester really quick. Let's unlock it. All right, so there we go. Awesome. There we go. Let's go to our layout. All right, this is looking really good. Oh, all right. Yeah. Yeah, way too many screws. I feel your pain on that. I'm just double checking that everything is programmed correctly. And we're looking good so far. So that's really nice. Let's go to our matrix tester here. Cool, that's looking good. All right, we are good, everybody. I think we're gonna cut it there, and I just want to wrap up and do some final things. I'll pick up the board and kind of show it off, which is really cool. Actually, I'll do one of my showcase things I do for boards. So let me take these off. Let me just take off my WASD, and you can kind of see the Brown Alps in all their glory. So there we go, folks. So here we go, folks. We have the ETAR87. So this is a really, really cool board. And again, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to the people who made this possible. The Bloody Eyes, the designer of the ETAR87, sent this out to me to test and take a look at and have on hand on loan. Careless for designing the Alps plate and also donating the Brown Alps that are used in this build. And then Tom over at Hype Keyboards for manufacturing and cutting the plate used in this particular build. So this build is awesome, and I think it's pretty cool. So, yeah, but it's pretty cool. So I just want to give a big, big shout out to those folks. So really cool board, looks fantastic. Let's flip it over. I really like the Browns. I think they're really cool, and I know some people don't like them because it makes their fingers tired. They don't like the rounded tactile bump, but I think it looks pretty good. But this is the ETAR87, folks, and it's a really, really cool board. Yeah, they're very different compared to like my oranges or like my salmons or like my black Alps or like my undampened creams. Like I'll pull up here's my GSKT00 just to do a quick comparison. I think they're really good. So this has undampened creams. So I think to each their own. They sound different. They feel different. I really like the feel. Oops. I really like the feel of this board. So this is fantastic. So, all right, folks, we're going to get on out of here. But I do want to just say thank you for everyone who tuned in, whether you were here for the whole stream or you were here for part of it, folks. That's just really, really cool, folks. So, again, have a great rest of your evening. The full VOD of this will be up on my YouTube channel later this evening. So, have a great, great evening, everybody.